Nepali gong, for your information, from Buddhanet. So please wrap up the conversation. And may I request you slowly move your chairs in direction to the stage. Yes, I hope you, in this very short time, had a chance to share some insights, some thoughts, some actions, and so we also let the Pacific and Central West Asia to maybe strategically move their chairs so they can see. Okay, so may the Pacific come from the islands closer to the stage. So we asked 4 colleagues in advance to share their thoughts about what you have just seen, and may we request them to join our moderator, Dr. Jun-Kyu Lee, here on stage. So we asked for Lua Sinja Vovavong from the Ministry of Finance, Lao PDR, Nuadu Bayasov, Government's Office of the Kyrgyz Republic, Naine Kilamanu, Bank of PNG, and Ting Zhu, China Banking Insurance Regulatory Commission, to join Mr. Lee here on stage and quickly have a brief interview about their insights, and then I will ask for 5 minutes, 1-minute sound bites from each region, one person. And it's not going to be a report, just a quick sound bite.
We have a designated panelist, and please come forward to this the podium so that we can have the quick sharing about the insights and also how you're going to apply and what are you going to do.
So can our 4 panelists join here on stage, please?
Minister of Finance, Lao PDR, and Bonlu Singyavoravong, and then Kyrgyz Republic, and Nuradi Bayaso, and PNG, the Naime Kilamanu, and Mr. Ting Shu, and China Banking and the Insurance Regulatory Commission.
Maybe they don't want to share anymore. So nobody is in the room? Okay, so then, while Jun-Kyu, maybe you share a few thoughts from your side.
Okay, so I actually learned a lot of things during the last the couple of days, and the number one, and I learned is, and actually, we are living in this so-called under jurisdiction, right? We're not living in the digital world fully. It's not yet. Still, we are enjoying a lot of digital services. And, oh, you're doing, thank you very much. I was alone. So all of the jurisdiction and also the regulation actually within the country. The law is in the country, but the digital product and services is no longer within the country. So the question, very ordinary question is, are we ready for the next wave of the benefits, also next wave of the risk, which we are coming. During the last 4 days, from Monday to today, we have been focusing how we're gonna transfer or how we're gonna make or enable this financial technology contributing to the financial inclusion, so financial development, creating jobs and servicing these financial services to providing these services to the unbanked people, MSME. These are the very one large pillar we have been discussing. But another very important pillar we also discussed today is the risk part. And you know the biggest lesson we learned from the global financial crisis in 2008 after the so-called Great Moderation period. So the Great Moderation period, almost 10 years, and everybody talking about innovative solutions, innovation, IT technology, and hailing about the new economy together with so-called financial technology also at the time. It's a financial innovation. It's a little bit of different concept, but financial innovation. And then we ended up the big crisis after we enjoyed a big moderation period. So the one big lesson for the policy makers is that how we're going to ensure the financial stability, how we are going to mitigate the contagion and spillovers from, at the time, the most concerned side is banking, liquidity. So that's why the policymakers agreed on banking and liquidity, capital, and also the standards. And then right now, we are seeing the new industry coming from this one. It's a fintech industry. So it's no longer traditional banking. So we don't talk about the capital level, we don't talk about the liquidity standards like we talked about before. So policymakers did they put every energy to catch up, follow up, trying to understand the behavior of the banks, liquidity during the last 10 years after the crisis, big crisis. And then right now we are another businesses are coming up, markets are coming up. So this is really the fintech, financial technology, but we have a very important principle. One principle is we need to provide the services to the unbanked people and less underserved businesses. That's number one principle. But the second is we should not forget the lessons what we learned from the global financial crisis. So that's why we discuss a lot today compared to during the last couple of days. Today is a risk part and sort of balance part, and also the central bank digital currency, regulation and subtech and the regtech, and also how much this new entrants and disrupting the business, disrupting the economy, disrupting the traditional model, how we can work together. So I think we really need to get together and more than we got together before, and to understand first, and then how we can design from the beginning. That's very important. If the bus is left, if you wave your hands, it is too late. If the fire already erupted, and if you call the fireman, maybe too late. So from the beginning, we really need to discuss how much we understand, and also how we understand, how we can apply. So somebody mentioned this morning that the designing of the system, ecosystem. And so we really need to discuss, because we are getting into the territory we never stepped in before. This is really the new things. And so we really need to sit together and then discuss, including all other policy issues. Yeah. This is better.
Please share your thoughts on the questions we have. What are your insights and takeaways, and what are the way forward you see? And maybe even if any suggestions or recommendations for the ADB.
Okay, thank you everyone. I'm representing the Pacific region. That includes Fiji, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea. I think some of our friends have already left to catch a plane. But the things that we thought, there were a lot of takeaways coming from the region. We had a lot of takeaways, things that we have learned from this conference. And some of them are, one of them that really came up was digital banking. To move into digital banking, but together with digital banking, there has to be digital literacy. We talk about, and also someone said financial literacy. So while we are on this road on financial literacy, we have now come into the digital space, and we need to get digital literacy as one of those things that is now a challenge that we've got to meet as well. And also regulation, or regulatory bodies like the central banks. There's a lot of restrictions, or some view it as a restriction, controls. How do we get over this? And we feel that as regulators, we've seen in this conference, beginning to see that some things need to change. And it's a good move, it's a positive move that we see that regulation can also come and meet innovation in a way that it is going to work for both parties. And we are on the same side of that spectrum as well. And I think we also, there were interest or takeaways on the central bank digital currencies. I think there needs to be a lot more discussion. lot more debate about this before we can go into that. It's probably early for us, or one of our parties may have already gone on to that path. But as a region, we feel that there needs to be a lot of discussion on that before we can move into that, because there's a lot more challenges that are facing us right now that we need to address before moving into that space. Data is now moving into one of the assets. We're saying that data is now an asset that we've got to manage, we've got to secure, we've got to address. And in today's cybersecurity session, the question was, do we really need to keep all this data? Are we really using all this data? How much can we hold and how long can we hold them for? And these are the things that we need to we're going to take back and ask ourselves, because we do hold a lot of data. How much of that is going to be used for us? And central banks look at long trends, long years of data, and all that, but we need to come to a practical space where we can say how much data can we use so that it becomes practical to everybody. And I wrote down some things. From the Pacific, infrastructure is one of those things that is really challenging us. Our infrastructure systems, internet access, road access, and other services that are not there. How do we go over this in order to get into the digital economy and digital space that we are talking about? That is one of the things that we will take back to our own countries and try to address in the way that we best can. But one of the other things that also we've talked about is we step back and see what is the real problem that we're trying to address. There are lots of solutions out there in the market, people offering solutions, innovative solutions that we think may be easy. What problem are we trying to address? And getting down to the basics of that, then we may be able to move forward with the solutions that fit us, because everybody is different, everyone's environment is different, everyone's economy is different. So from that point, we are very grateful from the Pacific region that ADB has invited us to participate in this, because from the PNG side, we can see the partnerships and the collaboration that is working for us. That in the region that we don't have the technology that works with us, we are able to partner with solution providers from Finland through the ADB collaboration, through the ADB partnerships. And that's what we are saying, that we can learn a lot from those that are advanced in technology. We can learn from that, but we need to have partnerships that also can work and bring people down in conferences like this, where we bring those that are high-tech and those that are trying to get into there. Not so much trying to leapfrog, but have a starting point that makes sense so we can go from there. Learning our lessons, or learning lessons from those that have gone through, and taking a position in order to bring something that is meaningful to our economies and to our people. That's from the Pacific region. I hope I have represented you well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul from the Philippines. And I think, Madam, she already tell everything that we need to heard. And I'm very thankful for opportunity that you have given to us here. And also, it's an opportunity for everyone of us to learn to each other, to partner, and also from ADB side also how they facilitate it for us to learn, and also for us to give an opportunity for sharing their best practices and how we can maximize the opportunity to be more inclusive, especially from the grassroots, and also from the Asia Pacific, from the Southeast Asian region. The Philippines is one of emerging markets, and also we are looking forward for interconnectivity, especially, and for more inclusive financial products, because our country is island and archipelagic, and it's hard. Mostly, it's hard to reach out some other islands here because of sometimes you need to go in another island before. And I know some of our other countries here are also take that problems, and also we are looking forward to that opportunity to grow and also to disseminate and also to be more inclusive. And another thing that I learned from this is the cybersecurity and also the regulatory body. They brought it here, and we learned from some regulatory bodies, especially in the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Central Bank of the Philippines. We learned from them how they manage the regulations and also the testing side of sandbox regulatory. And another thing that I would like to reiterate is we are heard from the different sides, especially, and also the agricultural technology. They are introducing it, and I think I represented from the Southeast Asian side, and thank you.
Thanks. I'm representing a very small group. I'm Mujawid Wafa. My previous background, I was with a former central banker and currently leading a commercial bank in Afghanistan. I'm representing here my colleagues from Ministry of Finance and also our friends from Armenia in Georgia. We had detailed discussions on how this program went. Some of the things for a region, Central Asian region, were so interesting, like digital currencies, retail digital currencies. The concepts discussed were very useful. Like we can further work on these areas. These are new areas for countries like Afghanistan. Similarly, digital banking. We have, although we are a small economy, least developed country, but some progress has already been made in terms of digital banking, like to expand financial inclusion in some of the distant provinces and regions in Afghanistan. The mobile banking, some of the other tools used by the government and financial sector to reach the unbanked for the government payments and payrolls. Similarly, some of the areas we are backward is RegTech and also SubTech. These are the areas which have been discussed here, and definitely it can bring a lot of efficiency in terms of cost and as well as in terms of time. So that area we need to work a lot back in terms of reporting. And some of the least developed economies, there is a lot of bureaucracy. So such things can bring a lot of changes, efficiency, and it can improve reporting as well. And at the same time, data management through such areas are useful for government to have some data for future policy use. At the same time, one of the things which we have learned during this 4-year sessions was the market disruptors. Like some other players apart from the banking industry can play a very vital role in countries, in LDC countries, and particular countries like Afghanistan. So market disruptors as well as mobile payments, these are the ways that in some of the countries like Afghanistan, where financial literacy is very low, so it can really help us. At the same time, one of the problem most of the countries face is labor intensity. Normally, such a technological innovation brings a lot of change in terms of capital intensity. So banks use a lot of staff in different areas, and technology can bring a lot of changes in such areas. So in terms of financial literacy, which is very important in LDC countries, these programs we can definitely come up with national strategies through which we can tackle the issue of financial literacy and also financial inclusion to reach to the distant provinces. On the last question, ADB has been doing a tremendous job in Afghanistan. We, as a central bankers in some of the projects, we have been there, and they play a very important role in the infrastructure projects and some of the areas, even in financial sector. So definitely the engagement, their future engagement could be directed more toward financial inclusion and financial literacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think we actually really discovered and also shared that financial literacy, financial inclusion, infrastructure, including the digital infrastructure, very tailor-made and differences in countries, right? So here it's ADB feels really holy mission, and to help out each other. So thank you so very much, and I think it is the right time to make our colleagues sitting in the floor and exciting with our...
So we have maybe time for 2 more comments, looking at the watch. We want to be inclusive. You saw the regions, ASEAN, we have Central West Asia, we have the Pacific. So let's move to South Asia, and Nagesh Shastri from the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology from New Delhi was nominated by the South Asian groups. Please give him a hand. And we need 1 more chair if anybody has another chair.
I am here on the behalf of the South Asian countries. For us, the key takeaways from these sessions over the last 4 days, the first one is that is the creation of a digital identity, which is a must for every country which intends to improve the financial inclusion. And wherever this digital ID already exists, as in case of India, leverage this for promoting the financial inclusiveness. The second one being educating the masses, because there are different generations starting from our children and from our parents and from our grandparents. There are different generations of people who have different levels of education with respect to the financial literacy as well as digital literacy. When we talk of the children, they are really familiar with the digital part of it, but financially they may not be so very literate. Whereas on the other hand, if we talk of the elder generation, they may be familiar with the financial part of it, but not really the digital part of it. So we need to work on this multi-pronged approach where we educate the children as well as the elders with these particular aspects which they are not very familiar. This will help in taking the financial inclusion to the next level. The third point is the standardization of KYC processes, because if the processes are not standardized, the end users really suffer. So this is a very important aspect which we need to keep in mind. Then the most important part is building trust, because we have seen several cases over the years where the banks are either going bust or the customers are being taken for a ride by unscrupulous fintech companies, fly-by-night operators kind of companies. So the building up trust is a very, very important aspect. I think regulators really need to step into this arena and then work out methodologies so thereby we can build the trust. Because somewhere there's a little paradox kind of thing. On one hand, we are trying to promote the financial inclusion, and on the other hand, if the trust is not really there, then people will not adopt these kind of new technologies. So there is definitely a need to build the trust so that more and more people can adopt to the digital part of it. Then microinsurance, alternative credit scoring, these are some of the new technologies which need to be used by all these technology companies, as well as we need to educate the MSMEs also on the financial part of it. So these are the key takeaways as far as we understand. And then another important aspect is, of course, in countries where the infrastructure continues to be a challenge, I think in some innovative solutions have to be found out to overcome these infrastructural challenges, particularly in countries where we see where remote areas where accessibility is still not there, they don't have any access to the network. Some innovative solutions need to be found out. Perhaps some offline kind of solutions will need to be worked out for them. Yeah. So these are the.
Thank you very much. And we are still now first come, first serve, I guess. Mongolia, China, anybody from East Asia to be inclusive with the region? You can be on stage. Anybody from East Asia? We had a conversation. If you just want to take the mic and speak from behind, it's also okay. Anybody wants to share some insights? Okay, so maybe. So if you don't feel comfortable in your voice, so I hand back to Junkyu to wrap it up.
Yeah, financial inclusion, financial technology, to find balance.